Magic, the great Soulsborne equalizer. When in the hands of a capable player, sorceries, pyromancies, and incantations can turn the tides of any playthrough. But give magic to the bosses instead, and it's a coin flip as to whether you're about to get the easiest win of your life or suffer greater losses than a crypto bro in 2026. For this video, I'm looking at bosses whose movesets are primarily based around magic, so Manus won't be included for example because he hits you more often with his hands than he uses his dark spells. I will make a few judgment calls here and there, but I'll explain those moments in their specific entries. There aren't that many mage bosses in Soulsborne. I wish I could have opened it up to Souls-likes as well, I'd have a bit more to work with, so let me know if that's something you want to see in a sequel. I'm Billy S, and these are my top 10 magic bosses in Soulsborne, starting with... At number 10, we have the Red Wolf of Radagon fought in Elden Ring. This creature is at one with the sorceries found within the lands between, and will use his glintstone abilities to try and halt your progress through Raya Lucaria. He can also be found throughout the overworld, near Caria Manor, down in the Eternal City of Nokron, and in other locations too. Mages tend to be glass cannons in this series, and the Red Wolf is no exception. Everything about him hits hard, from his various bites and swipes that will catch you off guard if you're dodging away from him, to his golden blade he can summon to slice you up if you're not careful. His 3 magic attacks, though, are his most popular moves, weaving them between his melee combos to try and catch you out. You've got the regular magic Glint Blade attack, where he'll fire a Glint Blade you have to avoid, a dash, where he can summon 3 Glint Blades to attack you instead, which again, you need to avoid, and most dangerously, the Glintstone Comet Shard, a larger projectile that will spiral through the air towards you and deal massive damage if it connects. You never want this attack to land, as it would spell doom for your run without a doubt. The challenge here is the boss's speed. He moves around a lot, meaning landing hits is tough, and the constant magic barrage can be overwhelming in the early game. But with a weapon that's leveled high enough and a little persistence, the Red Wolf of Radagon will eventually go down. He's nothing special in the grand scheme of mage fights, but there's not a particularly large cast to choose from in the Soulsborne series, and I think he represents the mid-end of that scale relatively well. At number 9, we have the Crystal Sage from Dark Souls 3, a fight that normally I'm not that inclined to talk about in these videos because he is very middle of the road. There's not a defining characteristic of this battle that hasn't been done better in the series, but at the same time, he's not bad. I will say he was fighting with Gwendolyn for a spot on this list, and while I do admit that Gwendolyn's ever-expanding arena and magic attacks are iconic, I almost always died to his knives on any given attempt, and it doesn't have enough depth compared to the fights I have decided to talk about in this video. Anyway, Crystal Sage. He uses the crystal sorceries of the 3rd game to try and defeat you. He's got the classic homing spells that most mage enemies have access to in Soulsborne, as well as larger crystal masses that will follow you around the arena. He'll teleport away once you do enough damage, and this repeats until half health, where he spawns a series of clones. The real Sage uses purple magic instead of blue, but trying to find him immediately can be tough because all the clones will start attacking with their own crystal spells, so you've got to be very quick on your feet here. It's easy to get overwhelmed in this boss arena, especially with all the crystals spawning everywhere, some of which won't hurt you but will still cause alarm. You have to be aware of your surroundings, but come out on top and the Crystal Sage won't take that long to defeat. He's nobody's favourite fight, and I would argue his gimmick was done better in the past, so let's talk about that, shall we? At number 8, we have the Fool's Idol from Demon Souls, who has the exact same gimmick as the Crystal Sage, but I feel her fight had a little more care put into it to make her more threatening. She starts off on one end of the arena, allowing you to run up and get a few hits on her before she warps away, appearing somewhere else in the church alongside her clones. There are 2 ways to figure out who the fakes are. The first is to lock onto each idol, and if a regular health bar appears, that one's a fake. If no health bar appears, that idol is real. The easier way to figure out the truth though is to simply watch the magic they attack with. The real idol will fire a stronger variant of her magic attack than the fakes, but once you know which boss is the dangerous one, you still have to reach her and hit her, which is easier said than done because you have all these church pews in the way, as well as her worshippers who will get in your face to stop you killing their god. Side note, the worshippers also will face the correct idol, so you can use them as a way to figure it out as well. Then there are the various traps laid on the floors. When she teleports, she'll briefly be able to see a series of sigils on the ground. These are paralysis traps. Step in them and you'll be stunned in place for a short period. More than enough for the idols to bum rush you. As such, you gotta stay wary of those traps or focus on ranged attacks to bring the idol down. Those extra additions really make this boss feel like a chess match, as you're carefully making your way to the real idol to get those hits in. She goes down quickly, but only if you have the wits to survive her arena, and kill the servant upstairs so she doesn't respawn. At number 7, we have Maris, Fathom of Night from Elden Ring Night Rain. I did consider adding Noster to the ranking because the moth is all about the magic, but the presence of Fartis really tips the scales away from the sentient pest being a mage fight and more being a gank fight. Maris, meanwhile, is a magic user through and through, both in her regular and Everdark variants, though her magic isn't as standard as your usual mages. She's actually a somnomancer, with the ability to put you to sleep and leave you defenseless. In a regular fight, she never goes out of her way to attack you herself, beyond her arena charge she uses to reposition. More often, she'll be summoning spectral jellyfish to attack and explode next to you, as well as spectral hands that emerge from the floor midway into the fight. You can destroy her summoned magical minions, which will send damage back her way, but you need to be careful as she can send waves of sleep at you that you need to dodge. Her most dangerous abilities are her Hypnosis and her Teardrop moves, however. The Hypnosis move sees her curl into a ball in the arena, which begins to build up sleep, and the only way to avoid it is to attack her with your strongest abilities or ultimates. The Teardrop, meanwhile, sees her summon a spectral projectile that causes a massive explosion upon touching the ground. It can be destroyed, but it's better to just flee the scene. While in her Everdark variant, she grows to an exceedingly large size, firing off giant tsunamis and other colossal attacks, bubbles launched from the skies, lasers raining down upon you. Those homing lasers are easily the toughest part of the moveset, but you can take them down with the Storm Ruler if you're careful. Maris may not be casting spells in the same way as a majority of this list, but her attacks very much feel magical in nature, with a lot of ranged play and a lot of summoning. She's not the highest ranked Night Lord in today's video, but you could argue she fits the moniker of a magic fight a tad bit better than some. At number 6, we have Elana, Squalid Queen from Dark Souls 2's Crown of the Sunken King. Compared to the rest of the bosses on today's video, Elana is actually a dark pyromancer. All of her magical arts involve fireballs and darkness, giving her a nice way to stand out amongst the blue-tinged crowd. She's also known as a summoner, able to summon 3 different enemy types into her battle periodically with her magic. These can be a trio of skeletons, some pigs from Majula, or Velstadt, a previous boss in Dark Souls 2's base game. But the summoning, while magical, is secondary to her actual ranged abilities, which I have genuine PTSD of due to my Soul Level 1 run against her. When you're fighting Elana with a regular character normal build, she's fine, tough but manageable, and it allows you to really appreciate her moveset. She has a series of Dark Orb attacks. One is a linear blast, where she fires a few orbs one after the other in a straight line. If you get hit by the first, you will get hit by the rest. The other dark attack is more of a shotgun, a spread in a short area that can also knock you down if you're too close. How fitting as a child of Manus that she inherited his Dark Bead spell. She can summon homing orbs around her that eventually launch towards you, you know the spell type. And most deadly, she can summon 1 to 2 fire orbs around the player that will, after a brief moment, explode. You have to dodge out of the way of these as quickly as you can because they are deceptively deadly. One shot on Soul Level 1, and even in regular gameplay she can summon them whenever to make your life a living hell, and they can target you no matter where you are in the arena. Imagine dealing with Elana in a randomizer in the Skeleton Lord's boss arena, where she can target you from afar while 20 other random enemies chase you down. Oh, you don't actually have to imagine it because I went through it in this video, which I would highly recommend, by the way, it's one of my favorites. I do love Elana. I think her moveset is very balanced for an endgame build, and I won't allow my randomized or soul level 1 experiences to cloud that judgment, because at the end of the day, those experiences are exceptions to what is the norm. At number 5, we have Midra, Lord of Frenzied Flame from Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. This is one of 2 fights on this list that I really debated about their qualifications, because when you think of Midra, you do think of his various sword swings and his combos, and that absolutely brutal grab where he impales you in the head. But I also thought about Elden Ring's magic, and the fact that there are only a handful of bosses that deal in the madness status, and the projectile nature of a lot of the Frenzied Flame incantations, at least for me, tips Midra into the territory of this video. After all, so many of his attacks are either followed up by Eldritch Blasts of Madness, or simply projectile-based shots aimed to take you down. He even has a near room-wide nuke where he faceplants and blows up the arena with his maddening magic. That's also why Midra lands at number 5 though. I actually would have him higher if we're going by my favourite bosses, but because I know that his qualification on this list is going to be controversial, I think keeping him out of a top spot is very fair. If he hadn't qualified for this list, it just means that Gwendolyn would have been at the number 10 spot on this video for anyone interested in the alternate timeline. So if you really do think Midra shouldn't be here, I hear you, and that's how the video would have changed. I really love that a lot of Midra's magic is explosive in this form, compared to glintstone and crystal sorceries, the magic you're used to picturing in Souls. Midra's is volatile and unstable, matching the very essence of his abilities to a T. You can never be too careful after a combo because he could always fire out a burst to catch you off guard, potentially even stalling you in place if the status effect ticks over to maximum. You have to be hyper aware of your own madness, your surroundings, and what Midra is about to do next. But there is one madness boss in this video that outranks him, as we'll soon see. At number 4, we have Aldrich, Devourer of Gods from Dark Souls 3, one of the first mage bosses in the series to also weave in a little bit of physical attacking here and there. He's got a wide range of magical abilities thanks to consuming Gwendolyn, whilst also using spells from Nito and Priscilla. He can cast homing soul masses that chase down the player, and once enraged, he'll cast them every time he retreats into the ground. These can be surprisingly damaging if you allow some of them to hit you, so definitely use the broken pillars to your advantage to block them if you can. He has a few melee attacks, but none of them are particularly threatening, though one of them does see him summon flames that can damage you if you're too close. He can cast multiple soul spears back to back to try and snipe you from afar, going from a minimum of 2 to a maximum of 5, but you can stop this attack by just staying close to him. He has the Life Hunt Scythe miracle that he breaks out if you're close, which you can dodge through, and most infamously, he has his magical arrow barrage. In the first half, the arrows expand outwards in a cone from where he casts them, while in the second half, the wave of arrows will seek you out, chasing you across the arena with the intent to kill. I haven't figured out a surefire way to dodge this attack, but it's easily Aldrich's toughest move in his kit, and also the reason why he doesn't make the top 3, because I am a petty bitch and I think those arrows were very rude. Still, this is a mage fight done right. He's well balanced, keeps you on your toes, and feels like the correct difficulty for a Lord of Cinder, especially when compared to Yorm, who is the other Lord of Cinder you can encounter at this point in the game, and he is laughably easy. At number 3, we have Libra, Creature of Night from Elden Ring Night Rain, whom is the other boss I felt might not fit the criteria of this list at a glance, but I'd actually argue Libra fits a mage fight way better than not just Midra, but most of the battles on this list, because the crux of his difficulty doesn't come from his melee attacks at all, it comes from all of his magic. He is constantly teleporting around the arena to reposition, with his reappearance actually being able to damage the player player if you're too close. His madness abilities, such as the turrets he can spawn, the rocks he can launch, and the sigils that explode beneath you, are the key to his power as the fight progresses, and almost certainly are what knock people out in the process. His staff attacks hurts, and he can be overwhelming there, but it's because he's attacking in conjunction with all of his magic. If you enrage him by shattering his meditation, sure, his moveset becomes more physical, but with explosive madness slams added for drama. He can also rip down madness from the skies, upturn it from the earth in giant waves. These are spells that affect the arena, that's not up for debate. And if you let him go golden, gonna be golden, his base spell kit becomes exponentially more powerful. Rotating turrets, more dangerous sigils throughout the arena, larger circles of corrupted gold that rain down upon you, plus a room-wide madness blast that you can only survive by picking up the very gold pieces he was trying to kill you with to stave off the status effect. This is a magic mage fight. It just so happens that Libra is very good at using his magic while keeping right up in your face. At number 2, we have Rennala, Queen of the Full Moon from Elden Ring. I did briefly consider adding her sister Elana, Twin Moon Knight, to this video, but honestly, her very boss name had me pausing from the get-go. She's dubbed a knight, but we're specifically looking at mages and magic. She may use magic throughout her fight, but her swords ultimately do a majority of the talking, and in lore, she focuses more on swordplay as a knight. I could definitely give her the same argument as Midra, I do recognize that, but I think his madness spells are more intertwined with everything he offers more so than her. That being said, if you do think I should consider Elana, Twin Moon Knight, in this video, she would actually land at number 3, knocking Midra down to number 4. Rennala, though, the original queen, Miss Bayonetta of the lands between herself, qualifies so heavily for this list that it cannot be denied, whether it's her students throwing books at you with their magic to protect their mother, or her penchant for dropping chandeliers like Del Boy and Rodney in Only Fools and Horses. She's already magical. Then Ranni activates her trap card and we're able to fight a version of Rennala in her prime, with all of her sorceries at her disposal, especially a blast of Comet Azure to really get the blood pumping at the start. She can summon stars that fly at the player, she's got the Glintstone Comet Shard that the Red Wolf used in his fight, she can shotgun blast you with a Shattering Crystal if you're up close, and she'll bonk you with some dinky Glintstone Pebbles from afar. Even her melee attacks have a magical flourish to them, twirling her staff towards you before retracting it into her hands like a boomerang. She's also a summoner, able to summon the spirit ashes of a pack of wolves, a bloodhound knight, a Corian troll, and even a dragon, all of which will eventually vanish, but will force you to be on your toes while she continues to attack with her magic. And lastly, she has her own spell, Rennala's Full Moon, where she becomes the moon herself, firing it towards you like you just said your favorite game was Majora's Mask and she said, alright then. She's so iconic. Her arena is gorgeous, the music is out of this world ethereal, but there's one magic boss in the series I do think is better. At number 1, we have Darklurker from Dark Souls 2. See, between the DLC area ranking in this video, Dark Souls 2's been getting their flowers recently, and Darklurker is very deserving, as I feel it's the most pure mage fight in the series. Not only is the Darklurker a threatening opponent, but they actually innovate with their moveset for the time, though it's a steep price to pay to even face this boss. The Dark Chasm of Old questline is a pricey one, with each attempt costing a human effigy. To begin with, this angelic creature does have a melee attack, a soul greatsword, but it's still made of magic. The Darklurker has a regular soul spear, which is a traditional projectile attack you need to avoid. He has a laser attack that is very reminiscent of Nishandra's, where he'll rise up into the air and launch the laser in a direction. You can actually run underneath him when he performs this attack to get a few hits in afterwards. He can both teleport and turn invisible to reposition if needs be. There's the Forbidden Sun Pyromancy, which he can summon 3 orbs at a time with to chase down the player. And my favourite move of the kit is the Dark Soul Bomb, where the boss opens up 2 portals and fires a projectile through one of them. You then have to look around for the other portal and watch for the projectile as it comes through, attempting to home in on you. It's a fun attack, forces you to pay attention to your blind spot, and can be very tough to deal with when Darklurker splits into 2. Unlike the Fool's Idol or the Crystal Sage though, when Darklurker splits into 2 clones, you can damage either of them to hurt the boss's health as they share the same health bar. So all this means is that you're now dealing with double the magic and the setups that come from that. Naturally, this can be very dangerous, with certain magic attacks being tougher to deal with when there are a pair of them on the field, but it provides a real endgame challenge that Dark Souls 2's base game sorely needed. Darklurker has a solid moveset, tons of unique spells, and puts a unique spin for the time on the clone gimmick, and that's why he is my favourite mage boss in all of Soulsborne. But that's just my opinion. Am I wrong for not including Rennala or Nosta on this list? Let me know down below and tell me your favourite mages from this series or from Souls-likes. I know if we were talking Souls-likes specifically, Reese and Trocker from Kazan would be on this in an instant. And be sure to parry that subscribe button if you want to stay tuned for all my future videos. We're almost at 40,000 subscribers. I really want to reach it. It would be so cool if we could. I want to give a massive shout out to my YouTube channel members for supporting me for another month. It's $4.99. You guys are awesome. Shout out in the description at the end of this video as well. Access to a couple special videos. It's great. If you want to follow me, I've got a Blue Sky, I've got a Twitch, and I stream here every week on YouTube, so you can always catch me at some point in some way, shape, or form. Thanks for watching, I'll see you guys next time, adios.